Hey there, tech enthusiasts and growth seekers. Get ready for an insightful episode of Tech Sales and More with your host, Claudio Maidler. In this podcast, Claudio sits down with inspiring people from all around the globe discussing sales and beyond. He'll dive deep into expert interviews, sharing actionable strategies, discussing personal development, and also life itself. And now, enjoy the new episode.
Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Tech Sales and More. My name is Claudio. I'm the host of this show, and I'm very excited because I have today my first guest here, John Kraski. John, before you tell us more about you, isn't that exciting that you are the very first guest of the show? What do you think?
It's been a dream of mine since I was a child, actually. I always wanted to be the first guest on Tech Sales and More. So, yeah, thank you for making my dreams come true.
Absolutely welcome. I love it, John. That's the type of energy we want to hear here. Let's kick it off. Please tell us a little bit more about you. You are a famous influencer. You're a very famous influencer on LinkedIn with roughly 90K followers, almost 100K followers. Wow. And you're also one of the fastest influencers on the platform. You're also a little bit controversial, I'd say, because you like to criticize other big influencers and LinkedIn gurus. And you have been recognized with the LinkedIn Top Voice. You are on several businesses. Please tell us more about you. Tell us more about your background. And I'm very curious to learn more about you.
Yeah, wow. There's so much to uncover. But yeah, my dream, not only to be on Tech Sales and More, but it was also a dream to be a famous LinkedIn influencer. It's a true story. So no, that was actually never my dream. I grew up in Seattle. I was raised by a single mom and my grandma. So they did an amazing job, but I watched a lot of TV and movies growing up. So I always had this dream of moving to Los Angeles and becoming famous like Hollywood producer, agent. And that really, it's still something I would love to accomplish. It hasn't happened yet, but I've always had this sort of mix of creativity with business sense, because I ended up moving to Los Angeles to get my MBA in their business of entertainment program, which was the perfect program because I'm a half creative, half business minded. And I thought that would get me on this trajectory of becoming a famous producer, agent, whatnot. It never happened. I worked for Disney for a while when I was in grad school. And then I just realized I don't want to be doing like finance behind the scenes stuff. I want to do more of the creative stuff, but that's not what my degree was in. So then I just kind of trained myself to become more creative. I wrote a TV pilot, wrote a screenplay, was, working as well during that time. I had to pay my bills. So I became CFO for a very famous interior designer. I then kind of pivoted over the last 3 or 4 years, which is how I kind of became really popular on LinkedIn. I was working in the tech space. I worked for a Mark Cuban, Ashton Kutcher-backed startup, then worked for a metaverse company in Dubai, and now more recently started my own company called Futureproof, where we're helping brands get into immersive platforms like Roblox and Fortnite. So we got lucky. We got one deal done early out of the gates, and we're now engaged with a bunch of other big brands, helping them get into platforms like Roblox, which has close to 80 million daily active users. There's a lot more interesting use cases happening now. Initially, it was more top of funnel, very fluffy, just like, hey, we're just trying to like make some noise, and this is like what our brand's about. But now there's actually real life use cases starting to happen. Shopify is actually building a plugin now, so you're going to be able to go into a platform like Roblox and like actually transact and buy stuff. So, which is super crazy. So it's exciting, and yeah, I mean the whole LinkedIn thing. Yeah, I'm controversial on LinkedIn, but I think that helps my brand. I keep it real. So I keep it real. Polarization works as long as you keep it, balance it with a certain level of professionalism, and actually can back that up with actual real data. And I love to create, I love to write. So LinkedIn has sort of become my creative outlet in a lot of ways because I love to write, I love to create content. And it's able to allow me to like that dream of when I moved to Los Angeles and got my MBA in Hollywood, and I wanted to be famous in Hollywood. I'm now kind of like using all those same things and I'm doing it on LinkedIn. So it's that was never the plan to become famous on LinkedIn. I wanted to become famous in Hollywood, but I now realize, you know what? Take what's in front of you right now, which is true success over career. I'm successful on LinkedIn, and I'm going to use that now as the bridge to hopefully still one day become famous in Hollywood, because I wrote a TV show that I still would love to make. I have a movie I wrote that I chased Will Ferrell off an airplane trying to pitch him. So I still have so I have all those like crazy dreams. Still, I want to do it, but I'm going to do it first on LinkedIn because that's where I'm obviously having success. As you mentioned, I have my top voice blue badge, which is like sort of like the biggest flex, I guess, you can have as a creator on LinkedIn, which is given by the editorial team. And I got that early on. I got lucky. A lot of these things, crazy things happened. I was in a hot space. I started posting content. LinkedIn, I got on their radar. I mean, that led to me creating, an innovation events company. We hosted 40 events around the world: LA, New York, Dubai, London, Amsterdam, Miami, a bunch of other places. And then I hosted a TV show called NFT Heat with my co-founder of my company, Justin Shankarow. He's also the co-author of my book, The Future Community. And I got that book deal as well through my LinkedIn community with Wiley, one of the world's largest publishers. So yeah, LinkedIn's been a crazy, wild journey. I've been on it only like 3.5 years, but so many amazing opportunities have happened through it. And at the end of the day, the most important thing that happens through all the LinkedIn stuff is getting connected to amazing people like yourself and having opportunities to come on shows like Tech Sales and More. And honestly, my only question for you is, what is the more? What is the more? What is the more?
That's the exact question. Yeah, it's you. It's people like you. It's discussions about what's going on, what's controversial, what's shaping our society, what's going on outside of the world of sales. I mean, I truly believe sales is a lot, if not everything, because every single day we're selling, right? But of course, there are things going on outside in the world. And I think people are interested to hear about that. And honestly speaking, your story is pretty interesting. You have seen a lot. You have done a lot. You're still doing a lot. You're creating a lot. And you're every single day out there on LinkedIn. I know you now also since a couple of years, to be honest. I have seen you around on LinkedIn. And I was always wondering, John, what was it exactly that sparked your journey to choose LinkedIn? I mean, you could have chosen, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, right? Why exactly LinkedIn?
I think that's just where my tribe is. You know, I started my career in public accounting. I worked at KPMG, Price Waterhouse, JP Morgan, and then I got my MBA at University of Southern California, which is usually a top 20 MBA program when the rankings come out. It's in that kind of like second tier after the top 10. But I think that's my tribe, you know, people that kind of, you know, paid their dues, worked at big companies and are kind of professional, but also want to have some fun. So like, I don't know, that was sort of my tribe because I consider myself intellectual, but I also consider myself entertaining. So I blend the two. And I don't know if there's another platform that allows me to do that as well as LinkedIn. So that was it. You know, I guess it's like find your tribe, find your vibe, and then just, you know, double down. And that's LinkedIn for me. I don't think you could do what I do on any of these other platforms, although I have leaned into video more over the last year and a half. So YouTube, which is, owned by Google, I think that could be an interesting platform for me to explore more. So I'd love to maybe potentially explore taking some of my video content and seeing what I could do on that platform. That platform, from what I understand, is the best platform of all the creator platforms to monetize as a creator. They actually pay their creators some money, which is something I still want to try to do. I have not directly monetized my LinkedIn content creation. I've monetized it with, you know, business opportunities for myself and the companies I worked at, but not directly. There's not been a one-to-one monetization opportunity
Yeah.
this happened yet, but never say never. That day, I think, will eventually come. So.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, YouTube is a good point. This podcast will also be published on YouTube, of course. Now that you say it,
Love it.
That's being said. You are every single day, at least pretty much most of the days, on LinkedIn, and you usually kick off. And this is how I got to know you. I saw a video of you. It must have been like 2 years ago, and you were looking into the camera and giving an Odie shout out, an Odie Thomas Woodhams shout out. The whole community knows you because of that. I've seen yesterday on one of your posts that you even got approached by a oat milk company. So what Oatly?
Oatly. Yeah, Oatly. They make them, yeah. They
Tell
make
us
the oat
more,
milk, yeah.
please.
So what? Yeah. Honestly, I started doing more videos when I went to Dubai last year, and I think I just started doing them with my oat latte. I just started doing them, and then Thomas Woodhams at one point kept in the comments kept saying, "Oh, the Odie," and I was like, honestly, I had no clue what the guy was talking about. I had no idea. I didn't even know what an Odie was. And I was like, dude, what do you keep talking about? I was like, this crazy guy keeps talking about the Odie. And I just point blank called him out. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? I don't even understand what you're talking about. So I can only imagine the confusion of everybody else when they see this. So he's like, oh, the Odie, the oat milk latte. And I was just like, dude, he came up with his own name for it. So I was like, okay, fine. So then that just kind of like fast forward, I was doing videos basically every day. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to start giving Thomas Woodhams and Odie shout out. And now it's taken on its life of its own. And I feel like if I don't do it, people are going to get upset. So it's crazy. And honestly, it was kind of just a joke at first, but now Oatly, they reached out, somebody from their social team reached out and said, hey, can you tell us more about what you're doing with this? So it'd be wild. It would be pretty cool if we actually have a brand collab with Oatly. I would love to do it with either Oatly or any, company that's, makes oat milk. But yeah, I guess that's where we're going with that. So yeah, people seem to love it. I'm just rolling with it. I've had points where I'm like, should I keep doing this? Because are people getting tired of it? And apparently people still love it. So we're just going to roll with it. The community, at the end of the day, your community dictates your content. So give your community what they want. And apparently they want the Odie shout out. So
absolutely. I gotta say, if the community wants to hear the Odie shout out, you have to give the shout out.
You do. Yep. You got to do it. You got to do it, John. I love it. It's how I recognized you, and it definitely distinguishes you, I think, from the rest. Also your content, of course, does. Tell me, you have so many followers and you have a lot of engagement, lots of people that are really genuinely enjoying your content. What advice is it you would give someone who is just starting out on social media, YouTube, right? LinkedIn, and someone who wants maybe to be seen, someone who wants to build an own personal brand, or even generate new customers, right? Leads, and using social media as a prospecting tool. What do you suggest? What advice do you have for new starters? Just start, right? So people are like, oh, you have to optimize your banner and stuff like that. That's fine. At some point, I guess it's sort of like you can do that, but I've seen a lot of successful people with not optimized banners and very just like general profiles. But I think it's just literally starting to come and participate in what's going on, right? So me, like a lot of people, were just lurking in the background, never really commented on people's posts or even created my own content. And I was actually nervous to do it when I first started. So when I started working for the Mark Cuban startup in 2021, I initially was just taking articles about the space because I was in Web3 NFT space, which at the time was a really hot vertical in technology. So I just started taking articles and maybe I would just give like a 1 or 2 sentence kind of like take on it, just a little bit of my own opinion, but nothing. I play it pretty safe. But then I eventually started creating more of my own content that had nothing to do with articles and started getting more comfortable and confident. So I think just baby steps, right? Just get started. Just do something, whatever. You can just post an article and maybe put like a 1 or 2 cent spin on it or something. Really easy, low lift, doesn't require a lot of creative energy. That would be my probably advice. I know there's a lot of gurus out there selling courses and things like that. I just think if you're ever going to go down that road, I just don't think you need to spend more than $100 to $200 max if you really want to learn that. But LinkedIn actually has most of those resources for free. So I would steer clear of like really spending a lot of money to learn LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn, man, if you know how to write, you know how to shoot a video, you know how to use a search bar to like find people, then you don't need to spend money on LinkedIn. So I think there's a lot of interesting creators. You can follow myself, and there's people out there that are giving a lot of this advice away for free. So I would just say get started, and then you'll start learning the more. You'll gain confidence and momentum, because I think that's the whole thing that holds people back. Is like once you start posting more and engaging with, commenting on other creators and starting to develop relationships, you'll start to build confidence, momentum, and then you'll start picking up more data points on how to do it. But it's not rocket science. So, it's just get started. Just start. So step one, whatever. You don't even have to post your own content. Maybe just start finding some creators or people out there that you think are interesting, and maybe like put some thoughtful comments on their posts. Start with that and just engage that way. Baby steps. And then maybe one day you decide, hey, I'm going to do my first post. Make it really simple. Something like, hey, let me introduce myself. This is like who I am, what I've done. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm looking to do. Something low lift, and then go from there. So it's like Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. So just start.
Great advice. So just getting it started, doing baby steps, getting out there, engage with the people, right? And take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, how did you start?
Pretty similar, to be honest. It wasn't even planned that I would get that active, but I somehow, it got a hobby even, I would say. I don't know. I think I engaged with people, and then out of the engagement came the idea to create some content and look where this goes. And I had quite some positive feedback because I don't know, somehow my content resonated with some people, probably people that just started, their job, or who are facing similar fears and insecurities in some situations. Because I spoke about my past, I spoke about how I made it from Berlin, from my early days, basically into tech sales, and how I ended up working in Google, and that was something that people seem to be interested in. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, you work at one of the biggest companies in the world. So people are super interested to learn how you did it and take your learning. So, I mean, like, again, it's like sharing your own stories, thought leadership. Those are the things that resonate, when you're creating the content. So, it's like everybody has stories to share. So it's like share them, and then you'll find your tribe, and then you'll build from there. So yeah, great. That's a great advice as well. So
find your tribe and vibe, right? Wasn't that what you said earlier?
Yeah, find your tribe and vibe. Exactly. That's why I pick LinkedIn, and that's how I'm even finding people now. I'm going through a process now of kind of trying to reorganize my feed, and I'm really starting to delete and unfollow people that are just not creating the kind of right energy I want in my life. So I'm really taking a personal inventory of like how I feel when I look at a post. Is this post like making me feel excited about life and like making me a better version of myself? Or is this post like making me angry or tired or exhausted? And I'm like, if it is, then I'm just going to follow them and just move on. Like, you're in control. It takes a lot of work, especially at my level with so many followers and activity going on. But that would be my other advice for somebody starting. Like, be really careful about who you follow and who you engage with. Like, I would love to start over at zero and like just completely recurate kind of like my feed and who I follow. So I think I'd probably have a different set of criteria now. I would definitely be more focused on people. I wouldn't be so focused on just large follower counts. I'd just be more focused on people that are really experts in what they're talking about, or really good energy, good vibes. And that's how I would focus it. So
love it. That's very interesting that you say that, John, because this is one of the things I was wondering. So many people are successful on social media. There's a lot of gurus, do this and you do this and that, and you create, I don't know, next month $40,000. There are like lots of Yodas and billboard experts out there. What about authenticity? Because you just mentioned something. You said everybody has a story to share, right? This is also what motivated me, to really step up and go out there, because I thought also the idea for this podcast is to use my experiences and the experience of guests like you, right, to give other people hints and ideas on what are typical challenges and things going on also in the world of other people that maybe go beyond to what we normally see on Instagram, that everything is just perfect, everything is just, flawless, everything is just easy. How's it going for you when it comes to authenticity? What do you think? How important is being authentic or genuine on social media?
Authenticity. It's a cool buzzword. A lot of people use it. I just show up as me all the time. And like you said, that could be controversial to people, but that's also what I think makes me, stand out, because I think people like it. I think I say a lot of the things people want to say, but they just are scared to say it for various reasons. So I guess it's good I have my own company right now, because I don't know if I work for a big company. I don't know. I may be a little more closed in terms of like how I communicate, right? So that could affect my brand. It's a tricky one. I had somebody reach out that I used to work with, and they said, hey, my company basically told me I can't post on LinkedIn anymore because it's not like, it's ruining the brand. And like, he wasn't even doing it. He just like, what you're posting about is not aligned with our brand. It's just like, so they basically told him, like, you have a choice. You're going to either keep your job and not post on LinkedIn, or you're going to keep posting on LinkedIn and get fired. I was like, wow, okay. And he's like, I have a wife and family to feed, so I have to stop posting. I was like, wow, this is wild. These are the kind of things that are happening. But I think there's still a stigma attached inside a lot of organizations about posting on LinkedIn. I think one of the other things he brought up too, which I posted about, they just assume that if you spend so much time on LinkedIn, you're screwing around and you're not really working. But as you know, in sales, relationships are so important. And LinkedIn can be a very powerful tool to develop relationships. You could be on LinkedIn and maybe spend an hour or two a day, and people would be like, oh, that's screwing around. But you could meet that one person that could literally create, a deal that could be, could basically hit your entire quota for the year if you meet the right person, right? So I think organizations need to reevaluate their relationship with LinkedIn and how it can be leveraged. I saw Hugo Boss, which is one of my favorite fashion brands. They have an internal influencer program. They literally had every employee post, and then they had it kind of like templatized a little bit. I forget exactly what it was, but I want to do a post about it. I want to dig into it a little more, but I just noticed, like, literally, I saw 40 or 50 people from Hugo Boss. It was all branded. They had kind of like a photo of them, and it was nice and branded, and it was great. And they flooded my feed. One brand literally dominated my feed. So how powerful is that? I mean, they got millions and millions of dollars of free advertising by having their employees lean into LinkedIn and just like get behind something. So how crazy is that? Imagine the opportunities that brands could potentially have if they lean into LinkedIn the correct way. I mean, it's exciting times. It's still very early though. I think I don't know how far away we are from seeing more like LinkedIn brand influencers. But I assume that day is coming sooner than later. And as well, video is now becoming more prevalent on the platform as well. So I had an experience with one of the startups I worked at. They wanted to buy my LinkedIn and shut it down because I was having so much success. So there's this crazy love-hate relationship where I don't know why companies still have it, but there's definitely an old school mentality in a lot of organizations about LinkedIn and companies believing that they control it and kind of own it. And I think it's because it's a job-based platform. So I think in their head sometimes think that They're responsible perhaps for some of your success. They also believe if you're talking about business and your job, that's their IP, and that, that you need to like kind of dial it in on what you're going to say, and you need to get their approval and things like that. I mean, I get it, and I don't get it. I don't know. It's just having, I think, the right leadership in an organization to understand perhaps like how to manage it and how powerful it can be if you really empower those employees to use it the right way. So
I totally agree. And look, for me personally, LinkedIn is much more than just a job platform, because I can find so much information about learning new stuff. It's more like a platform for many different areas, I think, where you can really use to educate yourself and to connect with other people. That's what I enjoy. That's how I met you. And that brings me also to the next point, John. You mentioned that LinkedIn is a place where you could like somehow, being as an influencer, also live out your creative side, overcome some topics other people don't dare to speak about, as you said. And it's very true. What would you recommend for others? Are there any tips, any ideas how to overcome creative blocks, or let's say staying motivated? Because I also personally feel on some days I don't really feel like, producing new content. What about you? How do you stay so consistent?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, like today, I didn't even want to post. I literally was just like, I usually start my days at the gym, just get some energy and the creative juices flowing. So sometimes the days where I don't care is when I post the best, because you're more real and you're actually shorter too. You actually just you don't overthink it. So a lot of times my best posts are short, just in the moment, couple, 2 to 3 sentences. How do I stay so motivated? I really just treat it like any other discipline, going to the gym, eating right, sleeping well. I kind of baked it into that same kind of approach. And I realize there's just so many amazing opportunities that come from it. It's so important. So it is kind of a job. It's part of my daily routine. So I think you need to have sort of one of those first success stories to build the confidence and momentum that, wait, this is like worth the time. But in terms of creating content, it goes back to me wanting to move to Hollywood to be, like a TV executive. So I program my LinkedIn like a TV channel. So I always loved comedy. So I think that is probably my key pillar. I always lean more into entertaining type content. But then I also realize you just can't be a one-trick LinkedIn pony and just have one type of content. So I also have a lot of inspiring, motivating, educational content as well. So I would say my core pillar is always entertaining content. And then I lean into some of those other ones, whether it's inspiring, educational as well. So I can add some value. But yeah, you have to ask yourself, like, what do you like? If you were programming your own TV channel, what would it be? Do you want to be like, are you a comedy guy? Are you more like action? I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you like when you like, not to say like you watch a lot of TV, but like if you were programming your TV channel, what would it be? It would be comedy, action, drama, documentary. What would it be?
Love it. It's really, it's a good point, because I think in the end, you are most probably more authentic and also creative if you speak about the things you care about, right?
Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem with these LinkedIn juice gurus and all that. They put you in a box. They have the templates and whatnot. And I think they inhibit, like, actually, when you have to like write inside a template, you actually are creatively inhibited because it's somebody else that created a template. Whereas if eventually you study the templates, you kind of understand structure a little bit. It's just whatever, structure's fine. But I think if you just kind of come and just kind of say what you're talking about, I think you're going to be a lot more effective. So I analyze the platform too. I see what people are writing about, and like you have to analyze the platform too, like a stock almost. Like, all right, this is the kind of content that's trending. This is not. So a lot of times I could take a sarcastic kind of take on it and have some fun with it. So you just have to analyze the feed too, just like observe it. Be like, what do you feel like? Like, and you like a lot of what I write about is kind of poking, I don't know, like taking a humorous take, like a lot of just the craziness that's going on, because the platform on certain days feels like a circus. It just does. So,
Mhm.
like people are also feeling that. So like when you write a post about it, they're like, wow, like you're speaking to me because you're actually saying, the
Yeah.
truth. So yeah, I think that's been part of my brand. I've wrote about so many crazy things. I started with Web3 NFTs. I then took on like all the scammers in the Web3 space. Then I took on the LinkedIn gurus. But I mean, there was like, I took on time when all the AI experts were emerging on the platform. Then there was a point where there were like all Barbie experts. Like last summer, everybody's talking about Barbie. I have fun. I don't actually even know what I've wrote about the last year. I guess it was more like LinkedIn gurus and pod monsters and things like that. But I also trying to balance it out with like actually serious stuff too. So I can't just be always just talking about like humorous stuff because that doesn't work either. People will just get tired of that. So I'm always trying to shock and surprise my community.
Yeah, I definitely must say you definitely do because your content, yes, definitely still surprising many times, at least to me.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is it
Yeah.
when you see all these people on social media? They sometimes seem like life is so perfect and so easy, and everything is like like the Milky Way, like perfectly and smooth. What do you think? What is one story you would share with us today? One big failure or one story of your life where you say, okay, this was something you failed, but you really learned a lot from it, and that does not match up to the image of being flawless and perfect.
I mean, before I was really struggling after I got my MBA from University of Southern California with like what to do because I'd spent $150,000 on my MBA and I realized I wanted to do more of the creative stuff in Hollywood, but that's not what I studied, right? So I was just like, wow, this is crazy. I need to just get a job to pay my bills. So I just went on this path. Eventually I was just like, I just need a job. I need a job where I could just like kind of like make good money, but I was like, I'm not sure what I want to do next. So I ended up getting stuck as an executive in the luxury interior design space for almost a decade. I worked for a very famous designer. We had cool projects. We worked on the White House for Barack
Wow.
Obama. We had George Clooney, Cindy Crawford, Harrison Ford. We had cool clients. But it's just like, I don't want to be an interior design executive. This is not my passion. I came to be famous in
Yeah.
Hollywood. So it's kind of but during that time, I started to explore my creative side. And that's when I wrote a TV pilot and a screenplay. But I realized that's really hard to sell. Like one of those projects, it's really hard, even if you have a great idea. Ideas are dime a dozen. It's about execution. So I eventually shelved it. I was just like, I kind of like left that thing, like whole experience. I was just like, man, I wasted a decade exploring my creative side. I don't know really what I've done in my career. I'm in the space that I'm not even passionate about. What am I going to do? So the pandemic eventually hit and I was like, all right, like I got to figure this out. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So the world slowed down and it gave me an opportunity to kind of just like focus on myself and transform all aspects of my life. So I like lost 30 pounds, hired a trainer. Through this whole process, I kind of got confidence there. That then kind of brought me this opportunity to work for this Mark Cuban company. So I was able to kind of transform my career and my life through that whole process. So yeah, it was, the pandemic was like, obviously it was like really bad for, a lot of people, but I decided to take, that kind of horrific opportunity, to turn it into an opportunity. It was like you could go like kind of like choose to see the negative or choose to say, hey, wait, there's an opportunity here to make it something positive. So that's what I did. And then fast forward, yeah, like the whole opportunity with Mark Cuban, the LinkedIn, all these crazy things, TV show, book deal. Just, yeah, it was just crazy. It was like a crazy transformation. So I guess the message would be that you could be like, literally, you could hit rock bottom because I literally had no idea what I was going to do. Like the pandemic hit, I had just been like, I didn't have a job at that point. I'd lost my job with my company in New York. They just didn't have a need for me anymore. And I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The pandemic's happened. It hit. I'm trying to like reinvent my life and my career. This is like terrible timing. So I just took that, like, you can hit rock bottom and all of a sudden like transform your life in a matter of like 2 or 3 years if you just kind of find that one right opportunity. So the opportunity came through LinkedIn. So there you go. So I got lucky that I found that right opportunity. But the thing was like, I would not give anybody advice on how I got the job because I was just randomly applying to jobs on LinkedIn. But I was smart enough to know that this opportunity was a real game changer. So I needed to just come in there and own it and work my ass off. And that's what I did, because the other thing that happened with that job was I didn't actually get the job when I applied. They said I was overqualified, but they said, I like you so much, we're going to make a job for you. So I came into that job where I didn't even have a job title. So I did a bunch of stuff. I did business development. I did as a product manager. I know nothing about product management. I did some finance stuff. I did a bunch of different things. And I just used that to kind of create my dream job. So I just started doing a bunch of things. The things I was really successful at was the business development, the partnerships, hosting events. And that's how I built my brand. So I started leaning into things I really love to do, create content on LinkedIn. All those things really started to help supercharge the profile of myself and the company. And yeah, that was it. So, yeah, you can turn your life around in a matter of years if you just kind of find that right opportunity, really work hard, but never give up. So there's probably plenty of people right now listening. They're just like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing with my life. I don't even know where I'm going. I can't figure this out. Just stay positive, keep showing up, just like on LinkedIn, just keep showing up. You just don't know. You're just like one LinkedIn post away from a life-changing opportunity. You just don't even know who may see that one post and may reach out. You have that connection, conversation, and then all of a sudden you're just presented with an opportunity that can change your life. So,
absolutely love it, John. I think a lot of people actually understand and can resonate with that point. Being lost, I think COVID and the whole AI topic and the world is changing so fast and so much. And a lot of young people are studying one thing and, or doing an apprenticeship and then realizing, wow, this is actually not what I want to do with my life. So I think it resonates a lot. Thanks for sharing this inspiring.
Yeah. I mean, so many people that are like doctors and just like, or lawyers, and they went down this path because maybe they just thought that was a smart move or that's what their parents wanted. And then they realized like, this is not what I want to do, and life is short, right? So it's like, I think it's like, you have to give yourself like permission to say, hey, you know what? I spent like all this time and money on this degree, but you have to give yourself permission too, to like maybe slowly pivot out of it. I'm not saying just like completely like not follow through and make that your profession, but also just like start to create that space where you can start to explore some other things that that skill set may be applied to another path eventually, right?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely great. Also, life is often turning away. We didn't expect beforehand, right? And it sounds like a LinkedIn post actually. No, it's not about.
Right, there you go. There's your next LinkedIn post.
Not
there you go. Thank me later. Thank me later. Trust me on this one. Hope this helps.
It's not the destination, right? It's the journey. It's all about the journey. You mentioned that you were supposed to be a screenwriter in Hollywood, but then you mentioned that you were already writing a show or producing a show. And a couple of days ago, you posted on LinkedIn that you were thinking about a script for a show on LinkedIn. Tell me more about that. That sounds super interesting.
Well, I wrote a TV pilot, and it was called Figuring Out, about 4 guys in their 40s that are trying to figure out their careers, their love lives, finances. It was kind of like a male version of Sex and the City a little bit, but we never ended up, we haven't sold it at this point. So I just shelved it. I wrote it 7-8 years ago. So I just shelved it. But then I started to see LinkedIn started really leaning into this video feature and really starting to prioritize that a little bit. So I was like, maybe there's a way to take my character from that show and kind of almost do like a mini LinkedIn TV show. So I went to New York a month ago. I filmed a bunch of episodes just to test it out. And I'm going to build that out more, but I'm going to launch that that shortly. I teased the trailer a couple weeks ago. So that's like step one. But then I also have this like vision of taking all those like those TV producing skills that I want to do in Hollywood in more traditional, TV formats, like the HBOs, the Bravos, the Netflix of the world. But I want to take that same skill set, that Hollywood's producing skill set, and now apply it to LinkedIn. So I want to produce a bunch of different shows, and I don't necessarily need to star in them, but I would love to produce them. So I have a bunch of different ideas for shows that I want to produce. So I think in a weird way, I wanted to become famous producing content in Hollywood, but it may be that I become famous for producing content on LinkedIn. So there you go. That's about all I want to say right now on the topic, but yeah, it's exciting. So again, it goes back to my earlier statement. Sometimes you need to choose success over career. And what I mean by that is I had in my head this idea, like I'm going to be famous in Hollywood. I'm going to work at HBO or Netflix or, whatever, some big studio like Disney. And that's how I'm going to become famous in the content creation game. But I may become famous on LinkedIn for creating content. And it makes a ton of sense because that's just where I have a built-in community, where I have traction, momentum. So instead of like fighting market forces and fighting momentum and all these other things, be like, all right, well, look what's in front of you, where you have success, and own that space. So that's what we're doing. So stay tuned. But I'm working on some stuff. So I'm working on some stuff. So we'll see if we can get it done.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool, John. That sounds really exciting. Really looking forward to that, to learn more about it. And we are all, of course, curious to what's coming next. I think with that, we are at the end for today because I want to respect your time. Yes.
Wow. Episode 1 in the can of Tech Sales and More.
Episode 1 in the can, exactly. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Tell us, please, where else can we find you? You mentioned that you are so much on LinkedIn. Is there any other place where one can find you? And
I would just say LinkedIn. It has all the information about my company, Future Proof, and all that. I would just say LinkedIn. I have a bunch of followers on Threads, but I don't even think you can DM on Threads. Don't ask. Yeah, the reason why I have a bunch of followers on Threads is because they think I'm the actor John Krasinski. So that's a long story for another. That's a long story for another show, but for another episode. But yeah, I've been mistaken for a famous actor John Krasinski because he doesn't have a Threads account, and I have like 43,000 followers or something over there because they think I'm him. But yeah. But LinkedIn, just LinkedIn. Find me there. Happy to connect with anybody that wants to connect. And that's it, man. I'm super excited for your podcast, though. It's going to be fun. This is fun. You ask amazing questions, and let's blow it up. Let's blow this baby up. And then eventually, like what I did is I started with a podcast, and I turned that podcast into a TV show. So that'll be next, right? Let's get this baby as a TV show. Yep, that's it.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking your time today. Have an amazing afternoon. Take good care and see you around.
See ya. Odie shout out. Boom, boom. Bye.
This was the podcast Tech Sales and More by Claudio Maedler, presented by TechSales-coaching.com. Please take 1 second and support us with a review, and follow us for more episodes of Tech Sales and More on Spotify and YouTube.